Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. The late night trip is over, probably for the better. The exciting part, Ray, is they've scored like 24 goals in the first few games. They've given up 27, but you can't win them all. I'm looking for a positive spin here.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah, this has been a befuddling and perplexing road trip compared to previous years, and we'll get into all of that. But we want to start off the show on a happy note.
Right.
Hey, right? And so, and as always in the Storm Cellar, we're all about talking about the fans, the machinations that make the Canes as great as they are, as much as we love them. And we have a really special guest here for us that works, in the behind the scenes, but really provides the flavor to the games that you see in the barn. You know what I mean? Like, this is where, they poke and prod the fans and give them the just fully immersive feeling of being at the game. And it's what makes a game in Raleigh so amazing. Steve Kiesa, it's a pleasure to have you here. What your official title is? What
officially is part-time game day director. Sorry about.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So you're a game day director now. That's a lot. That is a lot of responsibility for you. Why don't you take us through? First of all, have you always been a hockey fan? You love it. Like, have you been a Hurricane fan? Like, this is how we go here. We want to get everyone ramped up and figure out, how they became a Hurricane fan.
Yeah. So, I was born in upstate New York, Syracuse area. So I went to a lot of Crunch games. I think they were Columbus Blue Jacket affiliates when I started going to them. Them or the Penguins, so even back that far. Just a lot of going to minor league games. We had a lot of, we had the Sabres on TV there just because it was upstate New York, but I never really got into it. I like hockey games, NHL 94, obviously. So that was my kind of extent to it until I got to college. And then ice hockey was our major sport up at SUNY Oswego. Go Lakers. We have any of those fans listening? I know I work with a couple at the Canes now, so that's kind of cool. But I got in. My degree was in broadcasting and mass communications because I wanted to work at ESPN. That was like just a dream from when I was a kid. And I tried like on air for a semester and it's like, this ain't me. So then I got into the productions of the live hockey games for our student TV station. And from my sophomore year on, I became like the director. So I started doing it from a TV standpoint. And then my senior year, we moved to a new barn where we had video screens. That was the big upgrade. And they used our broadcast and replays for the video screen. So that's where I kind of started doing kind of in arena stuff for there.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Amazing.
So,
I was like,
obviously you have a bunch of Canes connections off the bat, right? Obviously Piotr was playing for the Crunch. Like now he's been called up.
I got to try to get like a shirt, like a Canes Piotr shirt, just because, brings both, now and then together. Yeah.
And then tying in new and old. I mean, you mentioned, SUNY Oswego, and we all know our favorite
Eric
boy from
Cole.
Oswego. No offense, Steve, but, Eric Cole, right?
Oh yeah. He went to Oswego High School. So the Canes won 06. And then, so for my whole senior year, they put up signs whenever you drove into town. So when I moved in, there was like Stanley Cup, home of Stanley Cup champion Eric Cole. He got his own sub at the Oswego Sub Shop, which was turned out to be my favorite sub, Texas Hot Cheeseburger with bacon.
Love it.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm not that
And
far
of
from
course, I
DC,
live
though.
with like a room full of Sabres fans, so they were not happy that because they thought that year was going to be their year.
Nope.
So
Yeah. That series was so
yeah,
that series
Animated.
was tense. Yeah. Holy
yeah,
cow. Fantastic. So that's where you started. It's like I was kind of, going back to my college days as well, right? Because that's, where you get your education from. Where so from there, how do you get into the great position that you have right now? Because I mean, holy cow.
yeah,
A little bit
um,
jelly. I
yeah.
am. I'm just gonna say.
Ironically, it's I'm going to say luck because literally 10 I graduated. I tried to get into some sports fields. I even played like San Francisco Giants baseball, like stadium stuff. I just never heard back. I applied even with the Sabres, didn't hear back. Just once I got into college, it was just super competitive. So I just started working at local TV stations. I directed newscasts in WKTV in Utica for 5 years. I moved down the Thruway, went to Albany, New York, did that for a couple of years. Wasn't feeling appreciated there. So I got an offer for the state of New York directing lottery drawings. So I've seen like every aspect you can see of like live television broadcasts. And then my wife got like an opportunity down here working in the RTP. And I was like, I can find video stuff anywhere. So I quit my stuff. I let her follow her dream. Right after 2 days after we got married, we packed our car, drove down here.
Oh, wow.
And then
Good
she got
man.
her new job. We got her place. And then, see, over that, it was like that September or August. After that, they're like a posting for game day director. I applied and I got it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, through the process and stuff, um, I'll share some information with my guys here. Brother from another mother. He works for the Flames, but he grew up his entire life as a Boston Edmonton fan. How much was it difficult for you to switch maybe alliances? Maybe you had, or did you not really have an alliance at all, and you just jump right in as a Caniac? How
Great
does how
question.
does
That
that
was my
go?
question was what came first, right? Chicken or egg kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely I was a I'm not like there's other sports where I'm diehard Buffalo Bills fan still. I could work for the Panthers. I'm still gonna be a Bills fan. I was like a Sabres fan. I went to a couple games. I went to the first game after the lockout, the lockout strike.
Okay.
It was a
Yeah.
lockout year, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still got my Stanley Cup. They gave all the fans the mini Stanley Cups they gave
Oh,
because they didn't give away one. It's still up here on my shelf up here.
nice.
So I'm a Sabres fan. I had a couple, Sabres jersey. I got the Buffa Slug jersey just because that was new that one year. But it's like I was still 3 hours away, so I didn't feel like, and no one else in my family had Bills fans, so I became a Bills fan. I didn't really have like hockey fans in my household or family that like drove me to it. I kind of just it was on, and like when they got some runs in the playoffs, it would be on. But oh, it's our local team, so I just kept watching them. But I was a little conflicted at first because like my friends were like Sabres fans. I didn't know how they're going to take it, but they just knew at this age too. Job opportunities are cool too. So to be in that type of position, and I just kind of ran with my fandom, and I got over it probably a quarter of a year in once you start doing it, and it's like because working that position, you direct everything at the arena. So I do NC State basketball too. When the rodeo comes to town and they need a director, they call one of us because there's a couple of us in my position.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do every game, but we're there most of. We swap between director and technical director. I can get into that later, but you know, I'm a diehard Syracuse fan. I lived there, had season tickets, and slowly watching every NC State game, you start to pull for them. And even I watched less Sabres games, you just pull for the Canes. You're watching them, and then you're part of it. You're there. You're getting the crowd go crazy when the energy drops a little bit, and it's like hard not to get attached when you're there in the arena every day. So I'm a Sabres. Sorry, I'm a Canes fan now.
There you go. There you go. Love it. Love to hear it. Who's your guy over your time that you've over the time that you've been with the Hurricanes and kind of fell in love with them? Do you have a favorite player that just really,
Aho,
you
man.
love? Yeah.
Aho, we came up together. His first year was my season. He looked like, a 14-year-old kid when he started it.
Still
Even though he was 19.
Over all that time, yeah.
But he's been
now.
there, and we grew up in the organization together. That's how I like to think of it. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I think I was there one of his first. I mean, I was there. He was called up that whole year, but his first hat trick, I was there. I was directing that game. That was my first hat trick. I was there to direct for. So
very cool.
Yeah,
that's got to be. I mean, I know how pumped we are in the stands. I can't imagine like being there and working for the team and being part of like displaying that right to the fan. Like this is what's going on, right? I'd be.
Yeah, definitely.
I can feel the goosebumps right here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Steve. So what we'll get you to do now is kind of take us through your responsibilities. There is so much going on behind the scenes, just like producing a news broadcast like you did or whatever. There's always things you got to be ready for, right? Like you got to have that replay up and ready to go as soon as you need it so you can go to camera one, or you know what I mean? So you can go everywhere. That's a tough job, high stress, but you make it work. And especially when the stress is there because you're trying to make and create the environment. So take us through it. What exactly is game day like for you?
Yeah, game day is so most of our games based off of 7-10 puck drop. So I'll go through the time. That's the times in my head that I usually have for that type of day. I get in about 4:30. I go in. I pick up our rundown that our director of entertainment builds out. Go through. I see what we're doing. What if there's just anything new. Sometimes we have new, not sponsorships, but like the intermission games might be new, or like something during the commercial break. Like we just launched a couple new games. The only game we did, regular season game we did so far was the season opener. We had like a word scramble game. So we just go through, try to figure out how that works. And then sit down, see if there's with our switcher we have, see if I can build any dual boxes or anything to make these games more interactive or not. Test out all my animations, my replays with the sponsors. We have replays that are unsponsored. Just test everything out. Then around 5:00, the rest of the crew gets in, our cameras and audios, and then we have a meeting. And we just go through the entire show. And then we kind of get released for our dinner breaks. And then I say, all right, 6:25, everyone get back. And so we start for lineups or warm-ups. Sorry.
I got to ask. So I know for a while I was working for an online magazine in Boston as a photojournalist and the photo editor, actually. And they feed photographers and journalists pretty well usually. How's crew food? Is it good stuff?
They give us tickets. They give us food. They give us hot dogs, pretzels.
So you get like concession kind of food?
Yeah, we get concessions. They run a mini concession stand down in we call it the dungeon, but it's down in the mezzanine level.
Hot dog at a game anytime, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not getting like steak and cheese egg rolls, but I mean,
no, it's good. It holds us over.
Those hot dogs ain't cheap anymore.
Yeah. I have some health issues, so I kind of just try to stick to like a protein shake, and I walk around when the doors open, just stay active. I mean, they take care of us. They throw us. I'm gonna say they do throw pretty good. They had a nice warm up party, like a beginning of the season party. They get us all in there. We just kind of, get our new stickers that have the year for our IDs, and, they give us, Chick-fil-A, you can't argue with that. So they give us Chick-fil-A sandwich, and they take it, and then they throw a nice end of the season party for us where they get that all catered. And I think the arena caters that, so it's a pretty good spread too.
Wow.
So they do take care of us
That's awesome.
food-wise.
That is awesome. So now you talk about the prep work. Preparation is everything. We expect that out of the players, right? They all got to prepare for the game and get ready to go. The same is for you, but in the game, what's the intensity like? Does it get it ramped up quite a bit? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, in the game, it's sports, so anything can happen at any time. So we get our, 30 TV timeouts. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. So sometimes, the most stressful times is when we have to lose a TV timeout, but we have sponsored things going on in that. So we have to like shift it around. We have a good producer, Christine, that handles all that, and then try to work with them to figure out where we're going next if, things don't happen. Sometimes we try to, if it's a read, we try to put it in at an icing just so we can get that read out of the way. But yeah, it's just, seat of your pants. Just if there's good plays, the replay guys will tell me, and I'll go to it. We build it so it's kind of like punch and play. So we just hit one button, it puts the effect on, goes to the replay.
Beautiful.
It sounds like really dynamic workplace, right? It's not like you can, like you said, like you show up, 2.5 hours early for every single game. It's not like, for most of us, you go to work, you kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of live theater experience. Obviously, Ray was on, doing radio up in Edmonton, and it's you hope you know what to expect is the way I used to think of it. Like, right, live theater, I'm like, I hope this is how it goes. And then you only have to worry about the things that go off script, right? Or the things that change, but that's got to keep you on your toes for, 3.5 hours a night.
Yeah. There is like lulls and, when action's just going on, I keep it on our base shot, and that kind of goes back and forth. It gives me a little time to think and plan. I try to remember, like, if the same type of situation happened. Like, this is my 7th year doing it, so I've kind of seen a lot of what could happen during a game. But we've had some situations since I've been there. Like my first year, like the ice started to melt before a Red Wings game.
Oh, wow.
So I'm getting ready. Like, we don't really like hear anything, and this is when we always cut to the locker room before the players came out. I try to mix it up now, but I was very scheduled when I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we run our pre-arena ads about different tours and stuff coming, and I get ready, and I'm like, they're all just sitting there in their t-shirts, and they're just up around talking. Like, no one's in pads or skates or anything. And like we heard like a rumbling from, because a couple of our cameras, TV trucks take the Fox at the time truck take. And we heard like there was something, but we never got definite words, so we just kind of went with our show. And then like the ice was melting and it wasn't good to go. So we're sitting there and we're like, all right, we'll just put our logo loop up and try to figure out. That was crazy. That day was crazy. Like we ended up putting we have kind of a social media picture board that people post with a hashtag, and the picture goes up. We're like, can we load up like solitaire on that? And so we even during the break, we kind of showed someone, one of our tech guys in the back playing solitaire for like segments at a time, just because we had nothing. Like literally all people could do was watch ice melt.
Oh.
So
man,
we're like, what's entertaining, but also makes fun of the situation at the same time? Solitaire.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then when we won, all the cards were bouncing. The crowd, who was still there, like went crazy for it. I like getting the crowd like amped up about stuff you would normally not get amped up about during a hockey game. We've had situations like that. I love when things go viral on the internet that we do in house, because it's like we put it out and then it like blows up, and TSN usually picks those type of things up more than American media. But last year a good example is we had Pacioretty like the game before he came back, brought like an ice cream to a kid that the kid dropped his ice cream.
That's
So
right.
that's something
Cute.
that was one of the you know, one of the things our camera picked up, but Bally's isn't gonna pick that up because we have these two robotic cameras on the bottom of the scoreboard. So we showed a kid, and it just happened. We were on this kid who was cheering, and his grandpa was cheering that he was on camera and knocked the ice cream out of his hand. We showed the replay in slow motion a couple times. We keep cutting back to the kid, and then we get from our entertainment staff here in the headphones like, all right, we're going to bring, Stormy's going to bring him ice cream to make it okay. We're like, okay, cool. So then we watch them to see if like the parent's going to go get ice cream, see if like, someone has to stop the parent from getting another ice cream.
Yeah.
And then we hear, no, Patches wants to bring him ice cream.
That's wicked.
That's awesome.
So then we plan it all out, and we have to find time for it and like a TV timeout, and we plan it out, and we tell Wade like, hey, he's gonna bring him ice cream, say something to introduce him because he hasn't played yet. And then the next game, he debuted for the short time he was there, but we only had last year's stats for him because he didn't play. And I'm like, hey, how about you just add to the lower third, like ice creams delivered 1. So he had like 1 stat this year. So I like shouted out to our graphics guy to just add this on the lower part. Like, don't take over goals or anything. Still show stats from last year, but at the bottom put like, 2023 ice creams delivered 1. And I saw like that someone took a picture of that and posted it on social. So it's like those things are like it's cool to show like awesome goals. It's cool to show hits, like we just had the opening, but I love the stuff that like no one else is going to see on TV, stuff the crowd's just going to get. And if it's big enough that the crowd gets going, if it goes viral online too, that's awesome.
It's the connections and the communication, such a big part of your job as well, because you might have missed that. And moreover, the opportunities that come up throughout the game and so forth, you really have to be on your toes. I certainly admire your guys' your ability, and of course your coworkers' ability to keep the fans entertained. Because as we've seen in the last few games, man, sometimes it's difficult to keep people happy in the stands. You want them happy and going. Now, you've been doing this for 7 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. Number one, you've been in a portion of the dark days, which must have made your life just...
Luckily, the end of the dark days. It was a season or two of it.
Yeah, so that had to have been hard to keep the energy up amongst the fans in the building. But I also wanted to say, now, Brad, you and Brad will have to help me out with this. There was there was a new scoreboard that went in and amongst all that, right? Like a new setup and everything. When was that?
Yeah, the new scoreboard, I think it went in
2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2019 because I think that was the year we didn't finish because of COVID.
Right.
So it was weird because it was like that year, and then the year after they were gonna put in, we got all new. It was gonna be a 2-phase plan. We put in the new scoreboard to get the fan, the fan aspect of it down, and then the following season was gonna be our new switchers and cameras to take advantage of all the new technology that was in the new scoreboard, higher res, HDR, stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember asking Mike Foreman if that had an HDMI connection. And I think it might have been you actually, Steve, that he was like, oh, I think so. You'd have to ask. I think it was you, Steve. Because I was like, if I come down from Boston, like, can I bring my Switch? Can we play some... Can I bring my Xbox? We'll play some
there is plenty of sources. I do not know specifically how to, but I mean, if they could hook up a computer to it to feed, or
somewhere there's an engineer that has the answer.
Yeah,
right?
If we can play solitaire on there, you probably could play anything on there. I'm guessing.
Awesome.
I haven't done it, but with my other work in AV at colleges, if there's a will, there's a way.
I'll
Absolutely.
keep letting Mike Foreman know when I'm in town, because one of these days I expect the invite. I'm gonna fire that
That's
bad boy up.
awesome. That's awesome. So Steve, tell us a little bit about the dark days and a little bit about playing with the new toys. I mean,
Yeah.
how did it change? Did it make your life easier, more complicated because there's more toys? Like, what are we looking at there?
Yeah. Let's start with the first part of the dark days. It was hard to just, my take in that role, I think, like I already said, was just, you want to get the crowd involved. It's just hard when things aren't going great on the ice to make it, but we've always had a great production team that's made great, commercial content. The ones I think of right now is like, we did the minute to win it last year. We put those on social too. So if you haven't been in house to see it, we usually put those online. We just do we make lots of great pre-recorded content that I think got people excited, even though maybe things on ice weren't going as great. DJ Mr. Ills always plays seems to be the right songs at the right time. Just try to keep some energy going. And then as, things got a little bit better over time, the crowd keeps getting, filled more and more, and then we got more crowd shots we can go to and crowd seeing themselves on cameras. You get a different, type of pop and reaction to it. So, that's always good. And then, let's see, then with the new toys coming in. So even before we even got the new scoreboard and stuff, we got like the on ice projections. Finally, we got robotic, spotlights that can do any color too up there. So, it's been slowly over time adding more and more to the fan experience in the arena. And now we have everything put together. We have the scoreboard that ties, we can put the same video and sync it up between the projection and the scoreboard that does all takeover and even ties in the ribbons as well. So, I think from that aspect, we can put on like these shows you see from, other new arenas around the league.
And Ray, if I can for a second, I
Yeah,
think speaking
sure.
on probably, I would assume both Ray and I. So obviously, I am in Boston now. I only get to go to home games for the Hurricanes every few years at best. Ray has certainly been twice now to Raleigh. When I was younger, I was just like, I don't care about t-shirt throws and this and that. I just like hockey, right? 24/7. Now I'm older and I'm a dad and I'm a little more chill about it. Like the fan experience is important, right? It's not, it's not just for the kids. It really is for everybody, but it does give them something to do because there's not a lot of lulls in hockey. It's not like a football game where there's 11 minutes of action in a 3-hour game. It's the opposite of that, but you still, and especially during the dark times, I got to imagine it's a lot harder to get 10,000 people on their feet than 18,000 or 19,000. But I don't know about you, Ray, but like just thinking like when I moved north and what a game experience was like. And then when we were back there in February for the Hall of Fame game in the Stadium Series, night and day. I mean, what you guys have done with that arena and the capabilities you have was as nice as any arena I've been to. Even though the RBC itself, the concourse, and some of those things are maybe showing the age a little bit, it's still home to me. It still feels right. But yeah, the quality of the production is as good as any other rink I've been to. Amazing job.
Yeah, no question, no question. And that's you touched on it, Brad. The fan experience. That's a lot of responsibility that you take on. You have to be serious and ready because the fan experience. I mean, the players do a lot to make it a lot of fun and stuff, but you got to keep everyone's attention the entire time. And with the way people are now, I do you feel like you're battling everyone's phones, Steve? Like when you're talking about the games and stuff like that, and you've seen it in baseball and football and all the rest of it. There's fans in the stands that when they're not watching the action, they're into their phones. You know what I mean? And how do you battle that? Or do you find that you're battling that?
I think I used to, but I think now because the the new scoreboard is just so huge. I think no matter like what we do on there, like even when we just switch something, if we can take their like attention away from their phones for like a second, even if we're just switching from, one read to another, like that switch is just enough to keep your eye up. And then if it's like a switch to like a game or something, you know, that's enough to like maybe get your attention, be like, oh, I want to stick this around. Because the thing with like hockey versus other sports is you got like in baseball, you're gonna check your phone like during the inning because things might be just so slow. I don't think anyone's really sitting on their phone. I would hope not, but like
For the
keeping their
Hall of
phone
Fame
like during
game,
the engine, yeah.
yeah, I was going to say I didn't see too many people doing that except for between periods, obviously, which
It's
you want to see
fine.
what's going on around the league, you
Yeah.
want to see if anything's going on. But I was pleasantly surprised because especially the folks who sit down low, you always say like you got to pay attention, right? Those pucks hurt.
Yeah.
They'll cover. There's netting up, but it doesn't cover everybody. Like you have to pay attention during a hockey game. During a baseball game, you have lots and lots of time. You cannot pay attention. Football, you have lots and lots of time. You cannot pay attention. But a hockey game, because they do move fairly quickly, except for TV timeouts, right?
Yeah.
And
And I
then
think even in the TV timeouts, I think we're slowly trying to take advantage of people being on their phones a little bit, using a lot of stuff that's like QR based or I know we did them last year, but we would do like a shuffle game, but you could also do a shuffle game on your phone and maybe get a discount at the team store. So I think we also try to take advantage of everyone, everyone's got their device in their hand, but maybe we take the time where they would be doing their own stuff on their device and maybe kind of guide them to other things that are team related on their phone.
Well, let me say personally, uh, thank you for what you did, especially in the Hall of Fame game against the team that shall not be named. I am one of those people who doesn't look or touch or anything my phone until the intermissions, and sometimes not even then, because I like to be immersed in the experience in the game. And that was fantastic work throughout, having those little vignettes with the other players that had played with Cam. Everything was great. The little cut shots to Cam in the box there. He's got his wine in his hand and he's like, geez, the camera's never off me. I mean, it was just tremendous. It was a great experience. And you guys do that on a not just for the special occasions like that. I know you guys do it for every game, and you're doing a fantastic job. So let me just say thank you for that, and keep up the great work because
Yeah.
you're doing fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
loving it.
Yeah, thanks for that. And it's not just me. There's a great team there that is their full-time job and they do, they make those vignettes and stuff. I was just lucky enough to be there punching up the shots of him in just swing one of our robotic cameras to the suite and showing them up there. But yeah, there's a crew of full-time staff of video producers, those that produce those things. And I'm lucky enough to just roll them in on the big screen instead of so it's definitely a team effort. There's people who spend hours in that arena shooting practices, editing all of the pumpers and the drops we do during the games. I'm lucky enough to go from my day job, drive over to the arena, give me all this content they make, and I just kind of do the live stuff. But there's a great team there that does the pre-production stuff that's just top notch.
And as we were saying earlier, Steve, I'm hoping to reach out because we'd like to hear from more of those folks. I think people really enjoy hearing about what happens behind the scenes. What does it take to put on an NHL game? Because it's not a handful of people, right? It's not a small staff. There's a lot of people who go into making that, it's a real team effort because you have, I don't know how many employees they have that are working on this stuff, but I used to think, oh, they probably have a dozen people who kind of go through these things, and I got to imagine that that's a small subset of the number of people who are actually getting involved and doing those things. So,
Yeah, I think
unfortunately, the Canes are never looking for a networking guy.
Yeah.
But maybe one of these days they will.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the numbers change, and there's other people like who don't. So we're in the control room, and there's like I think 4 or 5 video edit bays where the full-time staff works, and then we have 2 or 3 replay people come in. That's part-time. Our 7 camera people come in. They're part-time. So it's definitely us all working together. Audio people part-time. There's a lot of the game day crew is part-time. They just, I don't want to say just show up like I do, but they do.
But it's
but we all work together. We got a common goal, just put on the best show we can. Like you guys mentioned, it's have been easier as of late, just when the on ice stuff is better, but even when things have been good, things, you got those nights where it's just not your night. So
I hear you. Yeah, and for it all has to come together to get to everyone's eyeballs. That's the thing. Like it's so important for the work you do. So thank you for that. We're gonna shift gears, and it's gonna be difficult, and there's gonna be consternation. I don't even know how, Brad, to bring it up. We're going to take a look about since we were last on, we had the Sharks, the Kraken, and the Avs, and the Ducks. Frankly, we were getting ready to fire up on the Ducks the last time the Storm Cellar was open, and man, oh man, this has been a very difficult few days. And we've seen some wins, we've seen some losses, but the one thing that has been constant is the chaos. And I know that we're looking at, we've got the new mantra, cause chaos. It seems like we cause more chaos for ourselves than we do for the opposition.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's accurate.
No question.
And we all almost forgot about, I forgot about the Ducks too on Sunday. I think we recorded before the Ducks game because that was a late night game.
Yeah.
If we went into a week, if I said, Ray, next week, we're going to score 18 goals in 4 games. I mean, I assume you and Steve would be like, 4-0, baby, 18 goals in 4 games. No problem. We got this. If I then said you're going to go 1-3, you would have to be like, no, like that's ridiculous. Nobody's going to score 18. No, you're not going to score, 4.5 goals on average a game and lose. Like that doesn't happen, but it happened 3 times.
Here we are.
For folks who see our social media stuff like during games, I'm emotional during games. I don't try and hide it. I don't pretend. I always say, if you want an honest opinion from me, you got to give me 12 hours and let me sleep. The Canes are going to be fine, right? It's the West Coast roadie. Normally it's a big trip. Normally that they get some good points on that trip. To start the season, like we're 3-3. It's not like the end of the world. Although I will say we are behind like Philly and Columbus in the Metro, which if anybody had that on their bingo card, they are lying.
Yeah.
But Orlov looked better last night. Statistically, he was better last night. So that's an improvement. It's going to take him some time to get in the groove. I will say the one thing that this trip has definitely taught me is I never want to see 77-7 together again in my life.
Yeah.
In 4 months when Orlov knows the systems, maybe it works for a while, but he's still learning the system. There's a lot more responsibilities in Carolina than there are other places for defensemen. You have to know when to pinch and when to not. And I'm tired of seeing both of them behind the net and the back door open. I mean, every other goal, it feels like Ray and I were texting and like, the back door, like the back door's open. By the way, the back door's open. Did you notice the back door's open? Because they just scored 6 goals, basically because nobody's defending the back door. And Kochetkov and Ranta and Anderson can't do it all themselves. You have to pick your guys up. So, Aho, Svech, Pesci, Anderson, like those guys being out's a big deal. But and they're good defensive forwards, right? Aho and Svech. But goal scoring is not a problem. Defense is a problem. The penalty kill is a significant problem. The penalty kill, it looks like you would think that maybe Rod changed up the entire penalty kill system over and they're all having to readjust and that would be fine, except for he didn't. It's exactly the same as before. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe teams say, hey, we know they're going to be hyper aggressive on the kill, and teams have started to figure out a way around it. So, 3-3, it's not the worst start we've ever had. It's not the 9-0 start of, in October from the other year. And it's way too early to panic, except for my hockey fantasy team, which is like half Hurricanes and half Devils. Like,
right.
But at the same time, I think, like always, we try and be truth tellers. Like, are there some legitimate concerns? I think there are some legitimate concerns. Like, there are definitely some things that have to improve, if these guys are going to be, the cup contenders that they on paper should be.
Steve, what have you seen here from the team here so far this year? What's your take?
Yeah, I don't know. It's it's weird going in. We were saying we had like a plethora of defense going in, but obviously there's I think what you guys said. I think it's just trying to get the new guys working in the system, defensively, and even on the we do have defensive-ish forwards, or forwards have to do their defensive part. So I think just trying to get them all on the same page. I love the offensive output we've been having. Jarvis is clearly, there's been a lot of talk around here about him, muscling up in the offseason, and he's been showing. So, I think the young guys are definitely, the guys we thought we were going to take a step up have stepped up. Him, KK, they've been all doing great. I think it's rough just having that one first home game and then shipping them off for the dreaded fair trip, as I think was called in the dark times. I think, if you told anyone you could go if you could come back from a road trip like that, and I know one of them was at home, but, starting the season 3-3 with a West Coast swing, we're throwing your body clock off. I still think that's a probably good start. I know that's not what we expect from the team, but, I'd rather go through the issues now, figure out what you need to change, and then, hopefully grow from here.
That's a great take, Steve. And one of the things that I've been kind of pondering at, and after these games, you spend a lot of time thinking, and what I'm wondering is, like, first of all, in the end, at the end of the regular season, the only thing that matters is that you're in the playoffs. Okay. Being at the top of the Metro is great. It speaks to the success of the team and the change, and it's given the Hurricanes a reputation that they haven't always had. Like, they're considered at the top echelon, the team that is favored from the East to go to the Stanley Cup final. So that has not always been the case. And what we've seen over Rod's time is, a style of play that has brought them to the very top. And it's all based on intense forechecking, great defense, solid goaltending. And it was always, they're playing a 200-foot game, but it's 200 feet of forecheck and intensity. And that's what we've seen all along. What I'm wondering philosophically, if create chaos, if this is what we are to expect now, we're very stingy giving up goals, has maybe the team looked at it and said, we will just outscore everyone. You know what I mean? Like, they've scored more goals than every other team in the league so far. Now, they've also given up more goals than every other team. You know what I mean? And maybe that's the style of play. That is chaos. You know what I mean? And when you look at it, I just wonder if this is a new experimentation where this is the way we're going to play, and we'll just get into the playoffs. We don't have to worry about being the best team on the ice all the time. I wonder if that's what we're looking at. And one of the most frustrating things I'll say, and I'll add, is how excited we were and how much we promoted, like, even when we're on the penalty kill. We scored 4 shorthanded goals already, and that's fantastic. The problem is your power play is giving up 3.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Like, that can't happen. And as fans, it's frustrating to watch. But do you think this is just are we changing philosophies, just like the mantra? What do you guys think?
I'm happy to go first. I don't think so. I think we're just seeing a team that's. I mean, normally I think the West Coast roadie to start the year is a good thing. Teams all together, the boys kind of got a bond, right? They're in hotels for 2 weeks. There's nothing to do but hang out with your teammates. I think overall that's a positive. You're right. Most goals for 27, most goals against 30, right? You're averaging 4.5 goals for, great, but you're giving up an average of 5 goals against. So that's problematic. Steve mentioned scoring is spread out. There are 2 Canes who don't have a point yet this year. One of them is Callahan Burke, who played 7 minutes last night.
Exactly.
Who I would not expect to. The other one's Jalen Chatfield. And Jalen's had some good shots on goal, some good passes. He's going to get his. Every other single Cane, everybody else has at least one. The things that stick out to me, and somebody's gonna grumble because they'll go plus minus it in real stat. It is in the extremes for me. If your plus minus is incredibly high or incredibly low, then it goes from more of a team stat to what's different about you. Like you're something about you. And Dmitry Orlov's a -10, which is brutal.
That's not $7 million.
Tony DeAngelo's a -6, which is brutal. Once again, I never, ever, ever want to see them on the ice at the same time again.
Yeah.
Marty Necas is a -6, and that's with 6 points. And I don't know how, because am I just missing? I mean, I don't feel like he's been out of position a ton or anything, but if you've scored 6 points and you're -6, then you've been on the ice for 12 even strength goals. Holy smokes, man. Like, I mean, we pressure Marty enough. I don't want to say I'm beating him up about this, but it just jumped out at me like, holy cow, like how do you have 6 points and you're a negative, and you're a -6? Like that's just, so he's going to be something I'm going to watch a little more on the defensive side, going forward. But it's growing pains, right? It's a new season. You didn't change a lot from the previous season. You've added in some grit. Michael Bunting has been probably the best addition so far. Yes. I mean, he's been doing what he's supposed to do. A little penalty trouble. Yeah, it's the Hurricanes. They're going to call for penalties. I will say Seth Jarvis might be our best player so far this year.
Yep.
But Stefan Nason is like a smidge behind him. Like Nason will get our stick of the game for last night. He was a +2. He was the only person +2. He's in the right spot. He's doing the right things. He's doing everything that's asked of him. He's shown like, hey, I'm an NHL guy. Love seeing this from him. And he's been sneaky good.
Yeah.
And not even that sneaky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've sung his praises for a while, but in this trip, he's going to those dirty areas. The one thing that I've noticed is that he goes to the front of the net and he doesn't do a drive-by or a skate-by, rather. He goes to the front of the net and stays put and takes the punishment, and is like those Burnsy's goal on the power play, all Nason. Nason's the reason they scored that goal, because he just Georgiev. He just took his eyes away. When you can't see, you can't stop what you can't see, and it was just, he played so great. And Nason was there for Slavin's goal as well, who's got a lot of points so far. Let me just point that out right now. Slavin's got points
that's
fantastic and maybe his key to getting the Norris. But we'll leave that out there. Waffle, that's kind of a joke.
He's not getting the Lady Bing. He's already got 4, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's going to be tough. What are we looking at for the games ahead here? I know we got Tampa and we've got Seattle again. Tampa is the last of the road trip. That's coming up on Tuesday. Then Thursday, we get another crack at Seattle, who've kind of, I mean, that was a game we should have had. Those
plastic trap game, and we bit. I mean,
yeah, we called it.
What do you think, Steve? Because we're going to have to wrap up here in a couple of minutes, but how do you feel, Steve? And then looking ahead, maybe to the next week or so, is there anything you're expecting or looking out for? Or
just going back, I think they played, at least when they've gotten into these holes, I feel like they still play with even though it didn't really help that last against Seattle, Jarvis getting his second of that game, helps them at least trying to keep good momentum. I think, they came home after the game yesterday. I think maybe spending the night in their own beds after this long layoff will probably be good for them going into Tampa on Tuesday. Hopefully, maybe some of these neck injuries, like whatever Aho might be having or Freddie's been dealing with, maybe spending a couple nights in their own bed will be good. And then I think coming back home, I'll do my best to get the crowd amped up for that. And I know the players love feeding off that. So hopefully we can at least get one back against Seattle, which even though they haven't started hot, they were a playoff team last year. So, looking back at the schedule so far, it seems like they're winning the games they should be winning, but the games, they should against, other good teams seem closer, but they just can't hold on to it at the end. But, hopefully this back-to-back at home, get some good energy, and I will do my best, as you guys said, to
hopefully you'll have
provide
some Svechnikov content for the fans at that point.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Steve, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been great to get a little behind the scenes, behind the curtain look. And you and the team that you work with just doing an amazing job. And thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being part of the Storm Cellar because, hey, you're a big part of the team and we appreciate the work that you do.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
And Brad, so we've gotten a little bit of look in, like I said, behind the curtain, talked about some frustrating games, the excitement of coming back home. We covered it all, Brad, but there is something missing.
Defense. Oh, that was
aside from
rhetorical.
Defense? No, that definitely defense is missing. Yeah, there's no question about that. But there's something else, isn't there?
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.